A mother is done being silent.
I've been quiet for almost a year. I can't be quiet anymore. It's not right.
She called for help for one son. Police arrived and killed her other son.
He stayed here simply to be a brother.
Denver considers outsourcing its migrant response to a security company. No more free rides in the I-70 express lanes. And we mark Juneteenth, officially Colorado's newest holiday, long celebrated on our streets before anything official came along. All that tonight on Next. We've seen it too many times lately. There's a call for mental health help, police arrive, and then someone is shot and killed. Tonight, a mother from Englewood is ready to talk about the night that she feared that she would lose one son and lost the other. She spoke with our Marshall Zellinger.
This is my request for release of information, arrest warrants.
Life happens around the kitchen table.
This is the incident detail report.
Life around Kimberly Mitchell's
This is Matthew's death certificate.
is just not the same.
The only thing he wanted for Christmas last year was a piece of meat to make beef Wellington.
It's been nearly a year since the talk around this table turned.
I called for help for a suicidal party and wound up with my younger son murdered.
Last July, Kimberly called 911 because her other son, Philip, had shot a gun in the house.
That's Matthew. That's my favorite picture of Matthew.
She got out of the house with her mom, but Matthew stayed inside.
And I said, Matthew, come on. And he wouldn't leave, so he opened the door and he walked into Philip's bedroom. And the last thing he said to me was, it'll be all right. Loved his brother, loved paddleboarding. It's the last thing all three of us did together.
Matthew lived 22 years.
Absolutely loved to camp.
Details of his death have been limited because a judge issued a gag order. Kimberly's son Philip, the one with the gun, fired twice at officers outside the house. 2 officers shot a total of 23 times into the home. And Kimberly's son Matthew was found shot and killed.
They don't want to take responsibility for shooting an innocent person.
On Friday, a judge approved the release of a 5-month-old investigative report that found the officers justified in the shooting. It said one of the 2 officers most likely killed Matthew.
I have not gotten any closure.
Did you think that report might do it?
I thought it would, but it raised more questions.
Life around Kimberly's kitchen table is now consumed by Matthew's death.
Because I want to know what happened. I want to know why my son is no longer here anymore. He did not want Philip to hurt himself. That's the only reason he left. He stayed in the house. And he wound up losing his life to save his brothers.
Kimberly tells me she wants accountability and transparency from the city of Englewood. I reached out to a city spokesman today asking specific questions about the 2 officers who fired their guns and for a city response to the report that found those officers justified. The spokesman told me they were working today and that my response was currently with the city attorney, meaning it was probably being reviewed. Previously, Kyle, the city had not commented to us, citing the gag order, which prevents lawyers and legal representatives from discussing the case. However, that doesn't involve the city manager nor the mayor, though they believe it did in the past.
Yeah, I want to be really, really clear about this. The elected representative here in Englewood, not covered by the gag order, nor is the person who actually functionally runs the city manager.
Right, no different than the mom who's involved because she's the mom and knows things because her son's involved.
If the city thinks this is the end of the process, it does not appear this is going to be the end of the process. She's not willing to let it go.
Oh, no, not until she gets some more answers, because she thinks this report from Friday created more questions that need to be answered. And you know I'm going to be asking those questions, too.
Yep. Marshall, thank you. The city of Denver has really prided itself on the welcome rolled out for migrants, while also being upfront about the cost of that hospitality. Now, the city is considering outsourcing the effort to a security company. There are just under 500 migrants still being sheltered by the city and its partners. That's down from more than 1,200 in shelters this time last month. The city has spent close to $20 million on the effort and just got $8.6 million in federal reimbursement. Our Mark Salinger looks at the city's plan to turn over the migrant shelter and medical care to a company better known for armored cars and security guards.
Denver has a $40 million challenge it can't solve itself. This week, City Council will vote on whether to approve a $40 million contract to outsource Denver's entire response to migrants arriving here from the southern border. Everything from medical care to shelters to food would be handled by a third-party company. On Wednesday, Denver City Council will vote on whether to award that contract to GardaWorld and its subsidiary, Aegis Defense Services. GardaWorld is best known for armored cars and security guards. Aegis advertises on its website it has an unrivaled reputation in protecting oil fields in Iraq. GardaWorld does have experience working with migrants. The city says GardaWorld has contracted with places like El Paso, San Antonio, and Chicago to help them with migrants. We found they've also contracted with the state of Florida. Contracts show Florida chose GardaWorld to run a program led by Governor Ron DeSantis, flying migrants out of Florida to other states led by Democrats. Critics call it a political stunt.
We are hearing from jurisdictions around the country.
Back in April, Denver City Council heard specifics on how much migrants arriving in Colorado are costing the city. The price tag the city's chief financial officer gave council members was between $800 and $1,000 per week per migrant.
This is an issue that takes place thousands of miles from Denver, but has impacted the city greatly.
From December to June, the estimated cost was between $17 and $20 million. Now Denver's potential new contract will cost the city $40 million through next March.
The facilities, the staffing, the services, the food, the supplies, everything is included in that.
The proposal in front of City Council says GardaWorld was chosen through a, quote, competitive process with staff from throughout the city involved. While GardaWorld specializes in logistics and security, we don't know exactly what that would look like here in Denver. We reached out to GardaWorld to see if they have staff like doctors to help migrants or if they would outsource that as well, but Kyle did not hear back today.
I mean, it stands to reason if this company and others are bidding on the contract that they think there's money to be made performing this service for the city. What are the services that they're going to be providing if their background is security, I guess?
Yeah, there's always money to be made, right? But the question is also how much does this cost and where are we getting that money? The city is allocating $20 million from other different funds to try and pay for this. They're also using about $10 million of FEMA money. That's all trying to foot this $40 million price tag.
I have a feeling we will be talking about GardaWorld again.
And this just goes to show that the city knows that the migrant crisis is not over.
Yeah, for sure. Mark Salinger, thank you. City of Denver is also making major changes to homeless shelter options. City Council is considering an expansion of safe parking sites. That was a pandemic-era thing that they just made permanent. City Council added safe parking spaces along with safe outdoor sites, those camping sites, to the zoning code. Putting them in zoning allows them to stay in one spot longer term. This week, Council will vote on whether to expand the city's partnership with the Colorado Safe Parking Initiative by an additional 2 locations. That nonprofit currently has 2 sites in Denver where people at a home can stay in their vehicle. They can access food and showers on site, connect with resources. You might recall, Next Viewers previously raised more than $100,000 for that nonprofit's work through a Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign. You can run for president from prison. Typically nowadays that comes up in conversations about the now indicted former president, but of course he has not been convicted. Joe Exotic, the guy from Netflix's Tiger King, he has been convicted, and now he's running for president from inside the pen, and he's going to start in Colorado. Joe Exotic, real name Joseph Maldonado, is locked up in Texas, but he now says that he has met the qualifications to appear on the Democratic presidential primary ballot in Colorado next year. It's not exactly tough. You can get on the primary ballot here with a signed statement and $500. Joe Exotic is currently serving a 21-year sentence for a murder-for-hire plot. Next is celebrating Pride by supporting the LGBTQ community in Colorado Springs, which is joyfully defiant even after the Club Q shooting. Since Wednesday, your latest Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign has raised more than $15,000 for Inside Out Youth Services. That longtime community center for LGBTQ young people in the Springs had to close its physical location because they got so many threats after the Club Q shooting. They have since reopened with the added cost of daily security. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491. You can join me and a bunch of other Coloradans in donating to support the work done by Inside Out Youth Services. We know that your $5 donations add up because since 2020, you've raised $11 million for Colorado's nonprofits. Those I-70 express lanes, they seem to always be empty. Frustrated drivers then drive in them when they're closed, and CDOT says that's going to stop.
Until we are all free, we still have to be fighting.
At the intersection of Juneteenth and Pride, Denver's Black queer community celebrates progress and the work ahead. We're getting our first look at how Denver is going to spend some of its $12 million share of the Broncos sale. So when the Broncos sold for $4 billion last year, the team had to split some of the profits with the cities and counties where taxpayers helped pay for Mile High. So Denver got $12.5 million to spend on this vague-sounding, quote-unquote, youth activity programs. City's proposing a deal to spend some of that money on a pilot called My Spark. If approved by City Council, it would provide a $1,000 stipend for kids from low-income families so that they could do extracurricular activities. The express lanes on I-70 in the mountains never seem to be open, and that's because CDOT only gets so many days permission from the feds, because those are not full traffic lanes, they're converted shoulders. CDOT has not done much enforcement on people cutting into closed express lanes, till now. CDOT's going to use technology that's similar to red light cameras to catch violators and mail them a fine of up to $150. So starting Wednesday, drivers will be getting warnings for driving in the closed lanes or cutting across the solid yellow lines to get in or out or driving in the lane with an oversized vehicle. CDOT says next month, those warnings become fines. Right now, the enforcement is just for the I-70 mountain express lanes, but CDOT says it plans to expand that crackdown to all of its express lanes. It wasn't just you. It really was that hot today. We got a little break from the storms and got in our hottest day of the year so far. Did not quite get to 90 degrees at the airport, still our warmest day since September of last year. And hot, clear skies means we are in nasty ozone territory. Front Range under a ground level ozone alert until tomorrow. The state's air quality monitors say the worst of this is going to be foothills from Golden north to Boulder. And of course, it's always toughest on sensitive groups, people with asthma, older people, young children. Danielle, it's been a while since we talked about an ozone day, right?
I know, because we've had the gray, we've had the rain for so long, and now finally the sunshine is back. It's almost like we flipped the switch because the heat is here.
Yeah.
And it's here to stay. Are you ready for this? We hit 87 degrees officially out of DIA. A stretch of 90s around Greeley, Sterling, Ray, Burlington, Lamar, Springfield, you too. Everyone trying to stay cool after we were looking at just those gray days, day after day. Finally, we are looking at a pattern shift. And unfortunately, like Kyle was saying, we have to deal with the poor air quality out there. High levels of ozone up and down the I-25 corridor at least through tomorrow afternoon, just because we have the heat, and that's kind of acting as a lid, helping to trap in all of the pollutants right here on the surface. Still looking pretty good, though. Out toward Fort Collins, we have blue skies. Tough to find any clouds around the Flatirons. And what a day out at Elitch's. All right, things winding down out at the pool, but they had a good one with plenty of sunshine. Across the entire state, tough to find much cloud cover. All right, maybe a few drifting in off to the western slope, but that's going to be about it. Tonight, overnight, into tomorrow morning, we're looking good. Cloud cover, however, will be increasing mid-morning. It does not stick around. So if you're thinking about a pool day tomorrow, I'd say the afternoon into the early evening should be fantastic. Again, the heat's going to be on as we have this ridge of high pressure drifting back into Colorado. Stormy skies anchored to the Pacific Northwest, and that definitely will be pushing back into Colorado. So folks that want some more rain, I got you. Wait till you see that 7-day forecast. Tomorrow, temperatures returning to the mid-80s for us. We'll be back to about 86 here in Denver. We'll call it partly sunny. Some upper 80s, low 90s off to the eastern side of the state with 60s and 70s into the high country. And then look at this. Late Wednesday night, we'll be tracking some storms out there. Of course, Wednesday, our first official day of the summer season. Back to the mid-70s. Good chance for some rain, some thunderstorms on Thursday. And then we bounce back close to 90 degrees next Saturday.
Thank you, Danielle. Juneteenth is a new official state holiday, not a new celebration, though, in 5 points. And their message of freedom and liberation really resonates with Denver's Black LGBTQ community. That's next. Today is Juneteenth, the federal holiday commemorating June 19th, 1865. Union Army arrived in Texas to announce that the last slaves in the Confederacy would be freed. It was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. While the black communities recognized Juneteenth for decades, it only became a federal holiday 2 years ago. It wasn't a state holiday until last year. The big celebrations in Denver were over the weekend. The Juneteenth parade through Denver's 5 Points neighborhood. It's one of Colorado's largest, most established Juneteenth events.
It's just been a part of my life. Like every year, I'll be like, hey, do you want to go to the Juneteenth parade?
This is bigger than bigger than this parade, bigger than us, and it's amazing that Colorado has one of the biggest, but people need to make the step to actually learn about the history.
Event organizers say the 5 Points Parade has been going on since the 1950s. Governor Romer honored the celebration of the proclamation in 1989. Denver Library credits a businessman named Otha P. Rice with starting the neighborhood's Juneteenth celebrations. The 5 Points Business Association eventually took over the parade. They added a pageant. The event's evolved over the years, still going strong, now with a parade that culminates in a music festival. Before 2021, Black Pride Colorado's founder says there wasn't a specific space in Denver for Black queer people. Now that organization is finishing up its third year of Pride events, sharing their own message of liberation.
Black Pride is a space for Black queer folks to come together for representation and to be seen. I love Denver. First moving here in 2017, I have been privileged to have community. And one of the things that I noticed is that there wasn't really a space specifically for Black queer folks.
Thank y'all for being here. We love you. We appreciate you.
The biggest win is the fact that we exist. I know after really starting it and having conversations with some of the folks in the community and some of our queer elders in the community, this has been a space where people have been trying to create for decades. And it was in 2021 that we were finally just able to get it. And we just continue to grow. It was in 2020 that we talked about Black Lives Matter. And today, being Juneteenth, is a big part of our liberation. And until we are all free, we still have to be fighting. It has everything to do with liberation, and that until we are all free, we're going to keep showing up in those places and showing that we are going to keep being loud until we are acknowledged in the same level.
Black Pride wraps up tonight with a showing of Black Panther at Red Rocks. Denver's big Pride celebrations community-wide are this weekend. You always get the final word around here with your feedback. Producer Aaron walks in a stack of each night. It's like the presentation of the envelope at the awards show. It's coming, I swear. Just wait for it. Your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today? Firing on all cylinders, even if I'm not always. Rachel spotted this super Colorado-y car headed east on I-70. You get this? This took me a second. All right, so you see the plate, Blucifer. Oh, yeah, it's cool, Blucifer. But get it? It's a blue Bronco, just like the creepy DIA statue. Blucifer. That's cool. That's good work there. If you see something that says Colorado to you, send it our way. Email next@9news.com. I thought you had feedback tonight on this proposal for Denver to outsource its migrant response to the security company GardaWorld. Kathy says, seems like the company that helped Florida fly migrants to other states should be disqualified from being considered. Certainly not in the eyes of City Council, who looked at that, Kathy. She says this sounds similar to privatization of the prison systems. What kind of oversight will there be? That is an excellent question and one that we will be pursuing in the coming days, Kathy. Ben writes in with this dystopian take. Please remain seated until the ride comes to a complete stop and enjoy the rest of your day at GardaWorld. Yikes. See you next time.